Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to Cowboys Break, presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm here joined by Nick and Brian. Derek is out for today, but we finally got stuff to talk about on the show. A lot of recent news that have happened. Yesterday was a pretty busy day for the Cowboys, and I think maybe the best way to start the show is just kind of go through the timeline of events. We'll start off with the guys that the Cowboys have signed, and then we'll get into the guys that have kind of parted ways, or the reports out there that they're moving on and going to other teams. So let's start off with Mr. Donovan Wilson. Big signing for the Cowboys. They decided to offer him a 3-year deal, and he's staying here in Dallas. What do you guys feel about this move?
I like it. I think it's a real good move for them and for him. And also, more than anything, he's a guy that gets around the football. I tweeted that yesterday. Not many guys in the league can do what he does, 75 tackles plus. He had 100 tackles. But, he gets interceptions, he gets sacks, he gets forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. But what I love the most about him is that he brings the swag, he brings the toughness. He's not afraid of anybody. Gets a few penalties now and then, but for the most part, he plays with a really aggressive style, and I think the Cowboys need that. So I think that's a big part to have him back.
Yeah, this was one of those when Nick and I were at the Super Bowl and then the Combine, and then you were kind of getting the feeling that there really was a pretty wide gap between what the Cowboys were going to be willing to offer and then what Wilson wanted. And I know the more that you would kind of work through to this day of yesterday and them getting it done, you just kept hearing about Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn. They're like, we need Donovan Wilson back. That was one of those, when they go back, when they started to really evaluate where they needed to be for 2023. The first name you kept hearing was Donovan Wilson. And, I really do believe that there was that gap there. And the Cowboys, Adam Pacifica and those guys did a really good job of taking the coach's wishes and pushing that thing as far as they could push it to get this thing done. I give the Cowboys a lot of grief about some of the off-season, the signings or lack of and all that. And they always like to sign their own guys. Mm-hmm. But this was one of those signings where I kind of went, yeah, this made a lot of sense. And I think it got really pushed through because the staff really wanted him and they, the vision for the player. And again, I give the Cap guys a lot of credit for getting this thing done the way they did, because it was a pretty significant gap between them and the Cowboys when this thing first started.
Yeah, when we talked about it last week, we were mentioning that we all would like to have him back, but it seemed very difficult for a guy like him to probably get the money that he would be making. Do we have the amount of kind of how much that
was? It 3 years, $24 million?
Yeah. I think it's
like
going
a 2-year deal is really what it is. But yeah.
It can get up to 24, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of things have to happen. He has to make career numbers and interceptions and all that kind of stuff. I think it's really more of a 7-year deal, but a 7-year per million per year. But you look at the guy, was it Bates they got a big deal with
Jesse
Atlanta.
Bates, yeah.
It was like $14 million or something like that, and that's what you're saying. I think that Wilson's camp thought that maybe he was going to be in that range. And he had a chance. I think he was an alternate for a Pro Bowl. He was up there. He had a chance to go to that, and that probably would have helped his cause for the negotiation. But a good player, brings a lot to the defense and toughness, and I think they really needed to have that 3-headed monster back there at safety.
Mm-hmm. I think everyone's happy here with this signing.
I think that was the one.
Sure.
Well, that was the one. I mean, it was a day for me of surprises. Yesterday was a day of surprises when they get that done. You're going to talk about the Vander Esch. I mean, talking to people around the league, I kind of felt like that was a 50-50 proposition at best. There was a couple of teams involved. The Chargers, the Steelers were involved. So, again, the front office, give them credit. We usually say they sit on their hands and they don't try. And Vander Esch was a very important player to them last year. Wilson was an important player, and then the trade that they were able to make to a guy that could still play at a very high level. I said they had a pretty damn good day, trying to help their football team.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into the Vander Esch deal. Pretty interesting how everything has turned out for him. He gets drafted by the Cowboys, has a very nice rookie season. Then every year, because of the injuries, he kind of goes down. As far as performance, then it gets to the fifth-year option that they don't give to him. He kind of goes and tests the market. Turns out he ends up back here with the Cowboys on a one-year deal. And last year, he did a really, really good job. And now he's offered a 2-year deal to stay here in Dallas. Another surprise. You talk about surprises. Yeah. That was surprising to me, but I think he did deserve it. And just want to hear your thoughts on kind of like what he brings back to the Cowboys and this whole deal, just having him here again with this defense.
I think that he thought he was going to get a lot more money for the second year in a row. I think he thought he was going to get more money. So I don't know how happy he really is with the deal. I mean, yes, he's happy to be back with the Cowboys and all that, but I think that there's just a disconnect on what maybe they think that his market is, and then what the Cowboys like and other teams. I think other teams honestly are afraid of the injury.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Pre-draft, there's teams that failed him on the physical. I mean, there were
before he was drafted.
Before he was even drafted, and so what happens is teams have this. Okay, these are the problems that we run into that won't even let us draft this player. So there's teams out there that won't even touch him, even though he's played at a high level. There's teams but there's also the same teams will say, well, misses games. He's missing games. Oh, what is it? Oh, well, it's a shoulder. Oh, it's a stinger. Oh, it's a neck. Oh, it's this. See, so that's their justification, of why they don't. And, for the Cowboys, they understand what he is. They understand his the great things he can do. They also can live with the fact that they're going to deal with potentially the stingers, the neck, the back, and other things, the shoulders, the things that, could set him back 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, with Micah Parsons playing the way he does and where he does, and he's all over the place, you need Leighton Vander Esch. You need that stability at inside linebacker. They don't have a lot of linebackers on this roster. I was looking at that before he signed. I mean, they only had like 4 guys, and one of them is really a pass rusher in Micah Parsons with Jabril Cox, Damone Clark, and Devin Harper. I mean, that's a young, inexperienced linebacker. So I think it was important to get Leighton in there, and if he's a little salty about the deal, which and he always carries a chip on his shoulder. That's great. He plays well like that. So
at least he was smiling on the picture that was taken with him signing the contract. He was smiling. He had a nice smile.
Yeah.
Well, I think he had a couple of options. From talking to people around the league, he had a couple of options, I believe, and the Cowboys were. He's played here. He has familiarity, with Dan Quinn, with what's going on with the defense. He's a big part of how well they played defense last year. And Nick's absolutely right. I know from a fact we're about to do the draft show after our show here today. This is not a very deep draft when it comes to linebackers. The Cowboys, giving the extra year, giving maybe a little bit more. To get him to sign back here is a big play on their part. That's reading what's going on in the draft. That, hey, we might not. They've got young guys that are really. We've talked about Damone Clark. We've talked about Jabril Cox. These guys are yet to show what they're capable of doing. I think there's been some flashes but I don't know if necessarily it's the point where you're saying, okay, let's throw him out there and see what happens. I mean, if you watch Clark play, without Vander Esch, he looked like a totally different player, and not in a good way. He looked like a guy that was, wait a minute, you're not telling me, Anthony Barr, what this formation is going to do? You're not telling me where to go. You're not, Leighton Vander Esch was the one guy in that defense that everybody looked up to, and kind of that, if you want to use the old phrase, the glue of what was holding that thing together.
Now, real quick, you mentioned, Nick, the whole, like, maybe he could possibly be a little salty with the deal. We don't know that.
Yeah,
we don't know that.
He's fine.
But I was going to say, what do you think is the difference this year compared to last year, where he kind of did go into the market? The free agency officially starts this afternoon at 3 p.m. Of course, legal tampering has been happening since Monday. What do you think is the difference this year versus kind of last year, where they did decide to kind of test the waters?
I think last year was a little unique, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but from what I was told is that there was one team that was really sold on him all the way, and that where he was going there. And then at the last second, the chair kind of got pulled out from under him, and they signed another player, and then that he was kind of left holding the bag, and so he had to come back to the Cowboys, and he had a really good season. This year, I don't think it happened like that. I think that they thought the market would be a little higher, and it starts. It's supposed to start Monday with all the discussions. I'm sure it starts back at the combine, and it starts earlier than that, and those agents talking to him, so that they kind of know what the number is. And so, I think that, but also, like Brian says, I think he sees the fit here too.
Yeah,
he sees the fit with Dan Quinn, and he can play with Micah Parsons. You can play with, now you can play with the secondary. That's pretty damn good. I mean, the secondary is now starting to look pretty good, and this is before the draft.
Yeah.
Well, then yesterday they made a trade with the Colts. They traded a 5th-round pick in exchange for cornerback Stephon Gilmore. He's a guy that has experience, a lot of experience, a veteran guy that. And we were talking about this, Brian, before the break. The picture that was taken with Micah Parsons and Trevon Diggs, that they're just kind of happy and wanting the jersey and all that, and now they have him as a teammate. What does this type of addition mean for the Cowboys?
We'll let Brian start with that one, because you studied him a lot, even when we played the Colts.
Yeah, this is something. This guy can still play. And, when you start to talk about he could play inside, he could play outside, he can match up with the tight ends. That's something that he's, big wide receivers, smaller wide receivers. It kind of doesn't matter. This guy, he's not going to get taken advantage of. Sometimes you see these corners and they can't play a certain side. They can't play against certain players. They, when you put them against quick guys, they kind of lose their way. That this guy's not that way. I mean, he wants to play off. He wants to break on the ball. That's kind of his game. Had an interception last year in the Dallas game. Had 5 targets thrown at him, 2 caught. He's like a 50% when it comes to targets to catch ratio. He's one of the top, if you believe in the metrics and those things. He's one of the top cornerbacks in the league. I think the top 6 when it comes to being able to play pass defense. But he's got really good instincts. His ball skills have always been excellent with him. He's a physical cover style of a corner, and that's something when you start to talk about maybe Diggs on the other side, Gilmore on the other, and then they could play a little bit more of that man coverage, get up on somebody, bring Parsons, bring pressure, now play on the outside and be. This is a big upgrade for the Dallas Cowboys. And this was one of those that we thought the upgrade was going to come through the draft. Mm-hmm. And it still might.
Still could.
It still might. Even, and you look at what that they've been able to do, and I think this is the end of of an Anthony Brown, guys like that. We'll see what happens with Jordan Lewis, because Deron Bland has shown that he could play inside, he could play outside. So right now, as Nick mentioned, this is a group that can match up with you, lock you down, and then be able to sick that pass rush on them that they want to do.
You know what I like about that photo that you're talking about with Gilmore and Parsons and Diggs is that here are young guys that they know who the good player is. They have ultimate respect by that. And I would imagine Micah Parsons is not letting the jersey go to just anybody that's asking for it. He needs to be, to get some value for it. And they obviously see that. So, a lot of high respect there. And I'll say this to anyone that says, well, if he was so good, why would he give a 5th-round pick? I do remember the Raiders trading a 4th-round pick for Randy Moss to New England. And he still had plenty of the years left. He was still setting records in New England. So sometimes just getting him off the books and off payroll, and they're just ready to move on, and also help the player, and you just get what you're going to get for him. He's probably going to cut him anyways.
Yeah, new coaching staff same general manager, new coaching staff in there in Indianapolis. So it's a compensatory 5. It's not. You're not giving up the 26th pick of the draft to go get a guy. You're giving up a pick that you got for losing somebody, a Cedric Wilson in free agency or somebody like that. That's what you're getting. You're giving up to go get a guy that could still play at a high level. I was talking to my guys, my gang of 7 around the league. They're super positive about Dallas went and made a nice trade here. This is one of those that kind of, when you look at the salary, the level of play, the experience, I've heard nothing but good things about. I guarantee you the friendship that Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick have. Jerry Jones probably, before this trade was made, got on the phone with Bill Belichick and was asking about Stephon Gilmore. Yeah. And asking, Bill, what give me some traits, give me some ideas, give me some thoughts. And Jerry, this guy can still play. This is what he can do. And everybody tells you this guy is really, really good in the locker room too. He's a leader. He's a guy that people, like we say, look up to. So this is one of those deals. 5th-round pick, sure, great, whatever. That's, hey, you got a guy that can legitimately still play. You didn't get a broken football player here. You got a real football player.
And he's proven that he can adapt to different styles, different schemes. He's played for – this will be his 5th team. He's made the Pro Bowl for 3 different teams, the Bills, the Patriots, and Carolina. Yeah. Last year, he didn't make the Pro Bowl for Indianapolis, played all 16 games. But he's bounced around, but it seems like he bounced around and has in a cornerback, you can do that. You cover your guy. You kind of know what the scheme is for the most part. You can adapt and
Deion Sanders bounced around.
Yeah, and he was good.
Yeah, he was really good. Dallas, San Francisco, all right. Baltimore.
Finally have a show title now. I could just title the show right now. Broadus compares him to Deion Sanders.
There you go.
I could just do that.
You know what? We need to go to break, but man, I'm getting freaking excited and pumped about the defense already. And I have my little, the little devil and the little angel on each side. And one is telling me, stop it, Amber, chill out. The other one is I'm freaking pumped. The fact that it feels right now to me that you're actually building on the defense. You're building up rather than losing people. You still got Dan Quinn. Yeah. You're signing guys to add on or keep here in Dallas, and then bringing a guy like that to.
And you got the draft that's really deep and a lot. With the exception of linebackers, this is a really deep draft. Defensive line, secondary, safeties, however you want to fix this thing, or even add on to it you're talking about.
So far the defense is looking pretty good right now, and it looks like they're building up rather than just losing key players this year. Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're still going to talk about some of actually the guys that they have lost or that they're moving on from, and some of the reports out there so far today.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Register now for 2023 Dallas Cowboys youth camps presented by Invisalign. Athletes ages 6 to 16 are invited to learn from the best this summer at AT&T Stadium or Ford Center and the Star in Frisco. Sign up by May 12th. Visit DallasCowboys.com/camps.
Welcome back to the second segment of the break, presented by blockchain.com.
Bing.
There you go, Brian. All right, let's talk about some of the guys that have left the team. We'll start off with Noah Brown. He is supposedly going to the Texans on a 1-year deal. Was this a guy that you guys, we talked about it, we didn't necessarily expect him to be back with the Cowboys?
No.
I thought there was a possibility. He signed 4 contracts? He's had 4 opportunities here.
He's been here a while.
He's been here a while.
A long time.
Yeah, I think that what we need to do is to give Noah Brown his credit. He never was Cedric Wilson or never became what Cedric Wilson was. But you can't talk about the Cincinnati game without talking about Noah Brown and what he was able to do on 5 targets with 5 catches, 5 really big catches, 3rd down catches, 4th down catches. You know, unfortunately, people remember what happened in the Jacksonville game, you know, that kind of thing. And with Noah, you know, he gave you everything he had on special teams. That was kind of his calling card. But, you know, they wanted him to be more. And he just really was. I think it's a great opportunity for him to go to a new staff there in Houston, try and kind of figure some things out there with them. Maybe he gets a little bit more of a run to be that guy. Early in the season, I felt like he got some opportunities here. He just really couldn't materialize like he wanted. But, you know, Houston will give him an opportunity, you know, if he can fit in with the new quarterback down there, be a good target, and maybe get him more of a longer-term, more security deal in the future.
I mean, I haven't gone to look at this, but, I mean, the 7th round of the 2017 draft, I would imagine Noah Brown's probably played more games than anyone else that picked in the 7th round. Maybe I'm missing a couple of guys, but I mean, needless to say, he's had a great career based off of where, and he still is. I mean, it's not over. Yeah. I mean, but you got to give him credit. He stays in there, keeps his mouth shut. He just goes up there, he works, and you know, he's been kind of a big-bodied receiver, played special teams. They've moved him some to tight end, you know, as a big blocker, but for the most part, he's just a big wide receiver that I thought if he's going to be your 5th guy that can play special teams, it's a steal. But, you know, you're
asking him to do way
can't
too
keep
much.
doing that. So, yeah, he wants to be probably a 3, maybe a 2, and Houston, you know, they're not a good football team. You know, they almost beat the Cowboys, but they weren't a good team last year. There's room for you know, younger players to go and succeed, and maybe he'll have a chance to do that. But I got to give him credit though. He stayed in here a lot longer than I thought he would, and he had his moments. But yeah, he's not going to be your number 2 receiver, you know, at least not for the Cowboys.
Yeah. No, he had a good run here with the Cowboys for a while.
Sure did.
My guy, Luke Gifford, that I had so much hope for him just since the moment he got here with the Cowboys. Unfortunately, never really became, to me personally, that type of linebacker I wanted him to be. But he's now going to the Titans on a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I think John Fossil, special teams coach, probably not happy about that one because he was a core special teams guy, led the team in tackles last year. Again, this is one of those opportunities that he's probably going to get the chance to play some defense. I would imagine with the contract that he got, and maybe as a nickel guy and special teams. But yeah, I think he was one of those players, just like Connor McGovern, which maybe we'll get to, but just. You want them, here's your number to keep them, and then when they get more than that, you just have to say, all right, good luck to you.
Do you see this as a loss for the Cowboys, Brian?
Yeah, I think this is one of those that they felt like that he could have developed into the ability to play more, and that's something that when they Fossil, he was a core special teams guy. You started to see him work into some games too, and so it was like maybe 3-4 snaps, maybe a series, and then but he the guy. I mean, if you remember, he really burst on the scene. In like preseason, he got hurt with the San Francisco preseason game, and hurt his knee, and but he was one of those guys that kept showing up when his rookie year, and you're like, man, they might have got somebody here. But the special team stuff was really, really good. Heady, smart, knows where to be, can finish as a tackler. That's one of those ones that I hope they don't look back and go, man, we had a vision for the player. We just didn't complete the mission. He goes on and has a decent career, with somebody else. By the way, Nick, Chris Carson in the 7th round of that draft is the only one that has more catches than Noah Brown. The running back.
Running back for Seattle.
Seattle, yeah. He had 107, and Noah has 82. So, only one.
That's good.
Interesting.
Don't look now, but I think both of the players that lined up at fullback for the Cowboys last year, other than I guess the tight end McEwen, are gone because Gifford did it for one game.
Yeah,
and
I forgot about that.
And McGovern has done it as well.
Yeah,
and of course McGovern.
It's a high market for these fullbacks. I
guess, yeah. If you show you can block for even a snap or two.
Mm-hmm. Well, McGovern is headed to the Bills.
Another guy where it was one of those things like, yeah, we would love to keep you, but you can't tell me that Buffalo just woke up Monday morning and decided they wanted to give him that. I think he was targeted by them for a long time, and that's one thing that I think he has to always be pointed out. McGovern is a good example for this to me, is that when draft experts, and Brian is one of them, and free agent experts, when they do their list of players and all that, you're doing it based off of fit and scheme for most teams, but sometimes a team can look at it and go, you know what, that's the guy I want. I have a vision for the player that's a little bit different. We see it in the draft. You guys will be surprised on draft day that somebody you have as a 4th or 5th round guy goes in the 2nd or 3rd because that team just wants him.
Right.
And they could be right or wrong, but so therefore I don't think this was the case with McGovern, where I don't think McGovern was on anybody's top 100 free agent list, but the Bills are like, this is the guy we want, this is where we see him, and and that's why these scouting departments do what they do.
Yeah, I think the thing with McGovern was with the Cowboys, we really don't know. Well, maybe you guys know. I know, me being at 105.3 The Fan, trying to kind of figure out things on the radio side of this whole thing with Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
We're all trying to figure out, is this sincere about Tyron Smith? Because, is there cap savings? Are they going to really bring him back? Are they going to move Tyler Smith to left guard? There's so much that you really don't know right now. I mean, I was kind of sitting there when Jerry and Steven and then we're talking at the Senior Bowl, and they were like, no, we're bringing Zeke back. We're bringing Tyron Smith back. And I'm like going, okay, well, they haven't had their meeting yet. Mm-hmm. They haven't had that meeting where they kind of go, okay, this is where we are with the cap. This is where we are with playing. We'll see what happens with Elliott. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. But the thing about it is with Tyron Smith is, in fact, is he going to come back and play left tackle? Mm-hmm. Is he going to go, and then are they going to play Tyler? Me personally, I just like to see Tyler Smith keep playing left tackle. I felt like watching Tyron Smith play that everything was going to be okay on that right side with him. Felt like, high-level football. No, Tyron Smith is, he made the switch. It wasn't the smoothest. It wasn't the most comfortable. And at times they struggled with him over there. And that's a Hall of Fame player, but he moved from the left side to the right side. Are they going to now move him back over to his natural side and move Tyler Smith inside, which I think Tyler Smith, you invested really the whole season in him playing left tackle.
Yeah.
I would like to see him in one spot and just leave him.
Me too. And that's kind of where I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where, because I'm used to saying all this because of them just letting McGovern go. If Tyron Smith was gone, there might have been more of a fight for McGovern to keep him at that left guard spot.
Yeah. One thing that I was told yesterday that I didn't even think about when McGovern first left, but he's very forgettable sometimes. But I think there's people in the building that believe that Matt Farniok is just as good, if not with a higher ceiling than McGovern. He
played the Tampa game. If you remember the opening game where in Tampa, or the game here in Dallas, McGovern gets hurt, and they immediately put Farniok in there, and they play. That was their guy. So, to me, Farniok, I see kind of just a center body is what I see.
I don't see him as a big guy.
I don't see him as with.
Yeah, I don't remember us coming back here after a game talking and giving him much praise.
He stepped in there and did fine because they were blocking Vita Vea and guys like that. He was, it's not easy. But to me, with McGovern, I see bulk, size, the fact that he could play center, that he could play guard. I think that's why Buffalo did what they did. Mm-hmm. They look at this guy and like, man, this guy's got some versatility. Plus, he's got some toughness about him too. Him and Tyler Smith did a nice job over there on that side.
Yeah,
they really, really did. That wasn't the issue.
I think this is shaping up pretty well, though. When you talked about the excitement on the defense, you look at what you have on your football team, and again, and I say this all the time that people like to forget, but this was a good football team. This is a really good team last year. They were one of the top 6. There's 3 in the NFC, 3 in the AFC. They are one of them, and I promise you this. The teams that were good on the other side, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, I would put Philly in there. Only Dallas and San Francisco figured out a way to win without their starting quarterback. I just don't believe that Josh Allen can miss 5 games for Buffalo and they'd be okay. I know Philly couldn't because we saw what was happening. My point is that they have a good football team around them, and that showed last year. And now they're adding to it. They're keeping their guys. And if you had to go play a game tomorrow, which you don't, but I think that you're in a good situation there. But to your point, Brian, about Tyron Smith, it is an interesting thing. I think something will happen today with him. I think he stays on the team, but I think you'll see some news on Tyron Smith today that they're going to keep him here. But where does he play? That's still a question.
See, that's the question I have. If you get the restructure on the deal, then is he going to be a swing? Is he going to be your Jason Peters? I'd like to believe that, if that's the case, fine. 'Cause I think you need to play those young guys. I've always admitted this, and I'll admit it till I leave this business. I was wrong about Terrence Steele. You ran the ball really well with Terrence Steele in there. You didn't run the ball as well with Tyron Smith playing over there. You just didn't. Yeah. And so the quicker they could get Terrence Steele back. Now, the thing about Steele, real quick, his guy's gone. Joe Philbin is no longer in the building. Can Mike Solari continue the growth of what we've seen with Terrence Steele, and the growth with Let's Go and Ball and Farniok and these guys as well?
Let's Go. That might be another.
Well, Let's Go might be the one.
He might factor into
I'm
this.
kind of the Ball one. I'm kind of got one foot in the parking lot on. He's kind of, but with Let's Go, he's missing, he's got the subluxation problem with the shoulder. They get it fixed. He comes back in training camp, and he looks better. He hadn't practiced all year. They throw him in a preseason game, and he looks better than the guy that's been practicing the whole time.
Yeah.
That might be the one that all of a sudden it's like, that light came on. Oh, he got opportunity. Oh, a coach is helping him out here. That's the one I'm keeping an eye on.
Those guys that come back after their first year and even their second year and see what they look like in the weight room. Yeah. Let's Go's got that tall frame.
Yeah.
Like to see what happens with the whole whole year on the off season. Same with Farniok too. So with Steele coming back from the injury too, that maybe this is a situation like, hey, it'll work itself out. But you're right about Tyler Smith. I said it a couple shows ago about Tyrone Crawford. I just don't want him to be a guy
that's playing 1,000 positions.
That you just move him around because he can do it when you're stunting his growth, and I mean growth.
Yeah, you can't reach your max
to be an
your max
all-pro
potential by moving around. You got to stick to one spot, especially at
Larry
his
Allen moved
age.
around a little bit though, didn't he?
He did, but the thing about Larry Allen though is that I don't have a good answer for this. But the thing especially with a young guy, Larry Allen was an established.
I know,
and I know what you mean, but he was, to me, Tyler Smith at left tackle is a good deal, and that's your future.
Yeah,
that is your future, and in the minute that I hate to say this because I don't want to be this guy, but I'll be this guy. The thing about it is every time we talk about Tyron Smith, it's like, well, when's that time? When's that time when, he woke up with back tightness today.
Yeah,
he woke up with a shoulder issue. We were watching practice out here at the Star, and all of a sudden he's on the ground, and you're like, did he hit anybody? Did he what? He ripped a hamstring off.
Most is him. Like him wanting to still be here.
Still do it. Yeah.
The fact
when
that
is your body gonna tell you?
The fact that he even moved over to right tackle. I mean, I think that's why the Cowboys are doing this or staying on this. I think the Cowboys are looking at this. The front office and the coaches are saying, this Hall of Fame left tackle saw with the situation and moved over to the right side to try and help the team. That's, his contract, when you look at tackles throughout the history, he was grossly underpaid. And I'm sorry to the Cap guys if they're listening today. But you guys did a great job of getting that contract done. Because if you look at the grand scheme of thing of what tackles make, he was kind of underpaid for that contract that he was. But that's Tyron Smith.
And that's what Zach Martin is too. When you look at what that they signed Zach Martin to a deal a few years ago, and they still kind of move his money around and all that, and you're seeing what Lindstrom, I guess is he a center from the guy from Atlanta?
Yeah. I think he's a guard.
He's a guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, was he making like $100 million? I mean,
oh no, it's crazy.
Yeah. And so Tyron could have done that every year. He really could have.
Yeah.
Every year he could have said that.
Let's take our final break because we're about to hit the end of the show. And we do need to take a break. Let's take the break. We'll keep the conversation going, and we'll also kind of get into some of the reports that are kind of floating around social media today.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This week! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is. It's a non-fungible token.
Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Country Music's Party of the Year is coming to Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. The Academy of Country Music Awards is always bringing you country music's brightest stars together under one roof. And no one does country like Texas. Witness history on May 11th. Limited tickets remain. Get yours at SeatGeek.com.
Welcome back to the third segment of the break. We only have 5 minutes left if we're planning on finishing on time. So let's get into some of the reports out there. This is not official or anything. The team, we haven't heard officially from the Cowboys and what they're doing, but the reports floating around social media right now is that Ezekiel Elliott, he's supposedly going to get released from the Cowboys, and that they didn't manage to work out a deal between the two. And this is something that has been kind of speculated for a while. We have heard weeks ago, even right after the season, possibly them working out a deal where Zeke would take a pay cut and still manage to stay on the team. But this is something that wouldn't necessarily be surprising just because of how things have been kind of falling, and knowing that it would possibly be hard to keep both running backs together. We know Tony Pollard got the tag. So where's the situation? What's happening, Nick? What can you say, or what is expected?
I think you've covered it all. No, I think Zeke. We'll see what happens, but this is one of those things where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's a lot of smoke about this. We've talked about it. We said that we think, I've said it. I don't know about we, but I think we've all kind of agreed that it probably makes the most sense to do that. I don't to release him. They don't want to lower his salary like what they need him to do to be on this team. To me, if he was on this team, he'd be the third running back, because you have to draft one. With Tony Pollard as a franchise tag, you have to draft a good one. And then you got those two guys, and then where does Zeke fall in? Last year's third running back made $700,000, Malik Davis. You're not going to offer him that. So I just think it's time. It's run its course, and it'll probably happen. That's what we've said before, and I think based off of reports, they're probably not wrong. We'll see what happens later today or tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it was a heck of a run if that's the case. And like I said, they've it reminds me so much of. I remember. I think this. Well, okay. I think this is different from the Dez Bryant thing that we all went through. Remember that, Nick and Amber, when it was like, we're waiting for that. Are they going to do something? What are they going to do? They're not going to let him get into free agency. What's going on? Why are they holding? We get to April. It's like Dez and Jerry. I remember bumping into Dez in the hallway. I was over at the video department visiting with Robert Blackwell, and Dez came bouncing down the hall. He was meeting with Jerry there in the war room right there next to the. And I remember he's like, he was all so happy in this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh well, great. And then 7 minutes later, he's hustling out of here because it was over. And we've seen him move on from guys. We've seen him move on from. We've seen him move on from Ware. From they've moved on from Terrell Owens. They've moved on from some guys here. They moved on from Tony Romo. So this is one of those kinds. One of those times. I think Zeke did everything he could to help you win football games. But just towards the point now where the contract is too much for what you're trying to do, or the way that the way he's playing.
It's weird, and it's a sad day for me because I haven't experienced this yet. I haven't experienced a key player, a key member of the team, a guy that you drafted, a guy that was a star for your team, and then let's say he does get released. I haven't lived through that, through the beginning and ending of a star player for the Cowboys. So it's just very sad from my eyes. It's just it sucks. And I would have loved to keep Zeke, but I do understand, like Nick mentioned, the business aspect of it and the financial aspect and how it just doesn't seem like it's the right move.
Well, that's the thing about it is that teams get accused of keeping players too long. And there's people probably will argue with the Cowboys that they kept Zeke probably too long.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're willing to, potentially, again, nothing official here, nothing official, but all indications are kind of, where, like Nick says, where there's smoke, there's fire. you feel like that we've seen Zeke for the last time. And I hate to say it was him playing center in a game for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that was the last play. All right, well, that is all the time we have for today. Potentially a big day for the Cowboys and free agency. We'll see what kind of moves happen today, what kind of other big signings or potential releases happen today. Make sure to stay tuned on the website, DallasCowboys.com. We have a pretty cool tracker up there of free agency that you can go in, check it out, and you just easily see everything that has been happening with signing or guys that have parted ways with the Cowboys. So that's an easy way to keep track of everything that's going on. And I don't think anything
Draft
else
show next.
Draft show is about to come up next. And anyone that speaks Spanish, after draft show, we have Somos Cowboys on there. All right, thank you so much for Nick Inman, Brian Broaddus, and Amber Garcia. This has been The Break on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!